It is a Birds 365 morning here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. Appreciate you streaming on in with your Mac and Mac guys, John McMullen and Jody McDonald. We got 2 good hours of Eagles conversation coming your way, and 2 good guests, Marcus Hayes of the Philadelphia Inquirer and Ben Solak of the Ringers, to talk football, specifically Eagle football, with us. Johnny Mac, you got to talk and or listen to a whole bunch of Eagle football yesterday. The Eagles made a group of individuals available for you guys in the media to talk to and question. You did mention it on yesterday's show that it was upcoming, and it's almost like a rite of passage when you've been doing it for a while. You know this day is coming. Veteran Eagle players made available prior to workouts and the like. Here's my first question to you. How do you think they decide on who they're going to make available?
Who's willing to do it?
Is that a big part of it? You think that's number one concern? They actually ask permission rather than
oh yeah. There's certain guys that want to do it on their time at least. So I mean the most important part is getting guys to say, hey, we'll take a little time out and talk to the media. So that is by far the most important part. And then from there, obviously, early, it's more meaningful players, I would say. And then as time goes on, they try to get us as many people as they can throughout the offseason. Because they don't, there's no open locker room until the regular season where you can go grab anybody. Back in the old days, it was fun because to me, the off season, the most intriguing stories are the guys you don't know much about.
Right.
And we can't just grab them on the practice field. You used to be able to do it after practice. COVID has changed everything. So you work with what you get, basically, is how it shakes out.
Yeah, I've never been a reporter. You've been a reporter all these years. That's one of the reasons why I like the HBO leadoff show, because they give you the nice mix of the stars and the rookies trying to make the team with interesting backgrounds and stories. Are they going to make the cut? Not going to make the cut? Yeah, we're months away from that. The Eagles haven't got anywhere near camp, but they do have an almost 90-man roster. You got to talk to a bunch of them yesterday, a couple players and one coach. And that coach is Alex Tanney, the new quarterback coach, who both the head coach and the offensive coordinator have sung the praises of so far. We're not that far removed from Alex Tanney being a quarterback in the league, backup quarterback at that, but a quarterback in the league. And he's not only jumped into the coaching thing pretty darn quickly, but if there is one positional coach more than any other that lends itself to eventually becoming a head coach, I would say quarterback coach is the top of that list. You got a lot of guys who are head coaches in the NFL right now who are former quarterback coaches on their ascent up the coaching mountainside. Making a stop at the quarterback coach is not the worst thing in the world. What do you think of Alex Tanney yesterday?
He was fine. It's a little bit more difficult for position coaches, especially when you have a guy who and forget even coordinators. I mean, I wish people could see the difference, and they probably will this year. I wish people could see the difference between Shane Steichen on the podium when he knows the cameras are on versus off the podium, sort of just talking to us. Completely different guy. I mean, complete. But he's trying to toe the line. He's not in charge. Nick Sirianni's in charge. He's trying to keep things on the same page. So I think most position coaches are like that. Alex, as you mentioned, a very good young coach, and people speak very highly of him. He was playing 2020.
Just a couple of years ago.
Yeah. I remember, when Marcus signed Marcus Mariota, he was in Tennessee when Marcus got drafted. He made the quip he's going to have a tough time calling Alex coach. And because, he's more like a peer, And but he's career backup, and he knew, as kind of be talked about, he knew coaching was going to be his future pretty early in his career as a backup quarterback. But I do remember when he came here, and he was a coach for the first time when Nick got here. So 2021. And I remember watching. He was a quality control guy, so those are very low on the totem pole. We talked a little bit about them yesterday, doing special projects, things like that. And every once in a while, I'd see this guy throwing to the receivers in drills. I'm like, this guy's got a better arm than the quarterbacks. I'm like, and I went up to one of the PR guys, and I'm like, who's that? And they said Alex Tanney. I mean, yeah, I mean he was right off the field and into coaching, and you could tell it. You could still tell it today. He's got a heck of an arm. But it's funny you bring this up, because Alex Smith was on Sirius XM and talking about young quarterbacks, and he doesn't like young quarterbacks with defensive coaches, and I'm with him, man. I feel bad for defensive guys, but like if I was an owner, I would not hire a defensive guy, because I need this whole league, the modern league, is about developing the quarterback, getting the maximum out of your quarterback. And I want a strong head coach that can develop a quarterback, a strong offensive coordinator, a strong quarterback coach. And you think about the Eagles, Nick Sirianni is the only one who didn't play the position, but he coached it. He coached it on his way up.
Mm-hmm.
You have Shane Steichen, who played it in college, obviously coached it. You have Brian Johnson, who played it at a very high level in college and coached it. You have Alex Tanney, who's been in the NFL forever, obviously played it, now coaching it. And I go back to Doug Peterson, and same thing with Doug and Frank Reich. Those guys played forever, played the position forever. And John DeFilippo played it in college. Boy, it's so important. And I think the Eagles have done it the right way, at least over the past number. I said the same thing with Justin Fields. That's one of my big problems. I don't like the setup. Your guy, now it doesn't matter, but with Zach Wilson, I don't like the setup. I don't like the setup if you're drafting a quarterback that high. Now, Aaron Rodgers is going to be, he's going to do it himself. He's already a ready-made product, so I don't worry about it anymore. But with young quarterbacks, I'm not hiring a defensive coach. I'm not.
So with the fact that you're saying Alex Tanney has kind of got to stay in his lane, because not only is he not the head coach, he's not the offensive coordinator. He's a brand new quarterback coach getting his first chance at that full position. Did he say anything that you could take something from, or did he just toe the line and give you exactly what Brian Johnson?
I mean, the most interesting part, he towed the line when it came to, and he has to, and that's, they all do. He's no different than anybody else, just a little bit younger. But the most interesting part when you talk to the assistants is always their backgrounds. And as I said, he knew pretty early in his playing career that he wanted to be a coach. And pretty much his entire playing career was picking the brains of all the coordinators and all the quarterbacks he played with. He played, I think he said, with 12 head coaches and 12 quarterbacks, 12 offensive coordinators. Eli Manning would be, probably the most long-term quarterback he was around. And he just, Marcus Mariota was one of them coming into Tennessee. And he just learned from everybody. And he knew from very, very early in his professional career that he wanted to be a coach. And, Josh McCown was the same way. I always said when there was talk about Josh McCown getting a head coaching job in Houston, you and I have talked about this in the past, and everyone said, you can't do that. You can't do that. And you can't do that. And ultimately, Houston certainly wasn't the organization strong enough to do that. But I always say to myself, I go, who the hell knows more about offensive football than Josh McCown? He's been in every offensive system, every offensive scheme, literally, because he played forever and he bounced around. So you name it, he saw it, he knows it, he understands it, and ultimately, we'll see. Now he's started with Frank Reich in Carolina. Everybody in this, I don't know anybody in this league that doesn't think Josh McCown's going to be a head coach. And we'll see how he does as things develop. But I mean, and Alex is a little bit of a mini Josh McCown, and he mentioned Josh, by the way, yesterday. So he played in Kansas City. I'm looking at Kansas City, Dallas, Cleveland, Tampa, Tennessee, Buffalo, Indy, back to Tennessee, and the Giants. All those coaches,
slightly
all
more than I thought. I thought it was 4 or 5. You ran down about 7 or 8 there. I didn't know it was that many teams that he jumped around to.
All those coaches, all those systems. He just knows a lot about offensive football, and it's like, for whatever reason in baseball, backup catchers make good managers. Backup quarterbacks make good coaches.
Exactly, and that's what the Eagles see in Alex Tanney, and that's why they promoted him to the quarterback coach position. Didn't get a chance to talk to any of the quarterbacks on the roster yesterday, but you did get a chance to talk to their star wide receiver, A.J. Brown, who seemed like a guy on a mission. I liked the way, maybe it was just the way he answered questions, even more so than the things that he said. He looks like a guy with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder who's ready for this upcoming season, who is good as last year was. And he put up phenomenal numbers in a new town with his best friend who got paid. He talked a lot about that. Yes, I couldn't be happier for Jalen Hurts, and that's understandable. But he also looked like a guy who's ready to maybe just make amends for last year. Maybe that's a bad choice of words on my part, but they've got unfinished business, Johnny Mac, by one field goal with 10 seconds to go. They came up short of their stated goal, and they, at least through A.J. Brown, seemed like a team that's ready to come back out and reverse the trend of last season at the very end.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to call it the trend, because they were pretty stinking good. And AJ was, I always say he was the final piece of the puzzle on offense. I knew he was good. I remember you and I talking about when they acquired him. I said he was maybe right on the cusp of being a top 10 receiver.
We had him 9, 10, 11. If you wanted to be optimistic, you went 9. If you wanted to be pessimistic, you went 11. That's where he fit before the season started.
So my point is, I knew he was good. I didn't know he was this good. And he was. And, obviously you see the shape he keeps himself in. He's very dedicated. Yeah, I don't worry about A.J. Brown from that perspective, but I do think there's kind of a disconnect, and we've been talking about it with the Sixers all week, and I see our buddy Marcus Hayes popped in. We got to get to him after the break, and we'll talk to him about it. But athletes got to be a little bit different than fans. I know they get upset, and it's very emotional when you lose, but you got to go back to work. So you got to turn the page as quickly as possible. And that's sort of the sentiment that A.J. Brown had. Obviously, they're disappointed. I mean, these are tremendously competitive people. You think back to your basketball days, Jody. I'm sure when you were playing pickup basketball, you wanted to win. It's just a natural, you want to win. But if you're a professional athlete, you can't carry that with you if you lose, even if you lose at the highest level in such a heartbreaking fashion. So you got to turn the page. That was sort of a theme with the veteran players, and we'll see if they can. It's easier said than done.
I like the way AJ delivered his point of view yesterday. He did seem like a guy who had a very good comprehension of taking the disappointing ending to last season and making it kind of a battle cry. Not a hangover, but something that sits in the back of their head that they know we've got some unfinished business. Our business is just getting underway. We've still got an hour and 40 minutes worth of it. We're going to spend a good quality chunk of it with our buddy Marcus Hayes from the Philadelphia Inquirer. He's going to join us next here on Birds 365.
Do you stream on a Roku? Buy